Remember, it's a 15-character field. I know it doesn't present itself that way in all of the student information systems, but this has just come up very recently, and we're going to have more discussions on the difference between a student who's been in a course for 4 months and leaves the school versus a student who's been in a course for, say, 14 days and leaves the school. And you know, we need to put some more discussions and more thought into that. This is how it is right now. It doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, but you know, there'll be more discussions because we've both been in the classroom for years, and we understand that there's different. Leaving the school, there's different situations. Every single kid is different, but if you think of the eventual intent of this is to provide some kind of academic progress of how did the student do. Right now, if they leave the school, the 8th month of school, and you code them as left school and don't provide any kind of a grade mark, that's not fair to the student and it's not fair to the teacher because we're not providing any kind of mark or progress, is what I'm trying to say, progress for that student. So what we have to do is find a solution that works for the kids who are only there for a short period of time and really didn't make academic progress. We understand that. And the kids who did make progress and were there for a while. So we'll talk more about this. Feel free to email the team or call the team or call me or call Lori with your feedback, and we'll meet more with our product owner and talk about it some more and come up with a solution that works.
So yes. Following along with this, right, a lot of us are the space coordinators that are sitting here in the classroom. Who's telling our assistant superintendent curriculum this teach? Because we can't walk into our assistant curriculum. I actually walked into a meeting with my assistant superintendent for curriculum, and she was mad at me about STC because the state is now dictating how things are being scheduled in our system, and so we got negative feedback on something that we're required to do. So how is this communication going down to those levels?
We'll make it happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate your feedback, honestly, more than you know, because it is. Sometimes we're not for sure.
We ask a lot of you, don't we?
Yes.
I mean, we do.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And you're right. And we need to do a better job of supporting you in that manner, to making changes happen and business practices changing and whatnot. So I hear you. Now, sometimes I don't know who those people are. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who those right people are. So I've got to figure out how do I get that? Other than just picking up the phone going, who would you like me to call? You know? Yes, ma'am.
So you talk about having discussions, we're going to have discussions and talk about how this is going to come together. With whom are you discussing now? Are you talking about the people at ADE, or are you talking about the people at LEA?
What we try to do is we try to figure out as much as we can on our own without bothering you. And then
Bother.
Okay, but remember, I know there was a sampling of you guys this year. I was thinking about doing something, changing a rule or whatnot, and I came immediately to like 10 of you and said, hey, I want to hear your feedback.
Laura's talking with the vendors right now, has been talking with all the vendors. I've been talking with the vendors about this. We've been talking to some of them.
We'll get you guys involved. Is that what you're wanting to do?
I just can't emphasize enough what Diane said, how critical that is.
Yeah.
Because of the perception, rightly or wrongly, the perception among the teachers that all this data being recorded is going to wind up being part of their evaluation. They truly think, many of them truly think that.
I have no idea how that's going about.
But perception is truth.
Correct.
If I think that's what's going to happen, then that's what's going to happen. So we do face these difficult situations.
Amen.
High school, I don't see it as that big of a deal because we usually give withdrawal grades to a kid that leaves. That's a big deal now.
Elementary schools, the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction areas, they don't want ADE telling them when they're teaching what, when, and where.
Right.
And that's what they feel STC is doing, right or wrong. Again, it's that perception. And if those people aren't hearing what you're really trying to do, then we here who have to provide the data are running into assembly blocks.
Yeah. And you're not supported adequately.
Right.
I really value what you just said. And that is a good, and I take heart to that. So I'll put my head down, or maybe I'll just call you. And we'll have a conversation on on making that happen for you. Okay. Yes, Kelly.
It's kind of a trickle-down effect, too. I mean, on behalf of speaking for the vendors.
So they can hear you.
we don't want to be, as a vendor, the one who has to tell these people this is what they have to do. We don't.
That's our way.
So it's got to come from you guys to administration somewhere so that it isn't the SACE coordinator or the SACE person who is also
Taking the brunt of it.
taking the brunt and going to see the new SRM errors that says missing grade mark that's going to drive them nuts. They're going to come back to everybody else and it trickles back. And Mr. Administrator didn't know anything about it. So it's really going to be important, I think huge for you guys to take that level.
To what?
They might not read mine either. Okay, I appreciate this. This is good stuff. What time is the schedule? I have till noon. I don't want till noon. You guys, I'm gonna be like this.
But I think that when you communicate, it's anyone who has anything to do with Student Teacher Course Connection. We had an HR director who didn't know anything, and it was pointing fingers of, I don't do HQT database, it's the principals who do it. Then I was chasing a tail, and no one took ownership. And I'm a federal programs person.
Right.
This is our SACE program because no one wanted to own it. It's landed in our lap together, so it's because no one wanted it, and yet we're telling people what to do, and they don't want to do it because they don't know. And I think when you go back into what AD asks for us as far as, what's the list of people for common law done? Or just for the, you do annual, the LEA profile, that's where you get that information.
It's not always up to date.
But
I'm telling you, it's not always up to date.
I agree, but the problem is when it's due before contracts are and the start date. So when we're submitting it, it's due like April something. Well, contracts don't start till July 1, so we can't put on there those people who is going to be affected. So it's kind of.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. That's like a
Silly time frame on. I wonder if it's part of that 239. No, that's good. Yeah, well, we do. That's what I'm saying. That is like a gold mine.
They should know all of this. We should be the targets. We're the messengers.
Okay. Oops. Hang on just a minute. Christine, hang on just a minute. Okay. Hang on just a minute.
Hi folks, I just wanted to reiterate, I completely understand. My name is Peter Lang with ADE, and I'm gonna go up to the front. I kind of figured we had the ubiquitous voice that was just kind of coming from the top. Isn't that what ADE is anyway? It's like that voice. Just kind of I really appreciate the feedback in terms of the communication flow, because as we know, one thing that the team definitely learned this year is that the more communication that we engaged in, bi-directional, the better we got, over the course of the year. And so we sent out, I know it's one thing to say, we send emails and we put stuff on the website and all that kind of stuff. We all know there's a big difference between sending and opening and reading, and then reading and comprehending. So what we really appreciate in terms of, we definitely have a commitment to send this information out or engage folks as much as we possibly can. I think what would be helpful is to the degree that you can help us with this too. As you all know, we have our general email address, stconnection@azed.gov. If there are folks within your districts or our LEAs or charter schools that you feel should have this information, be included in communication that comes out, just send us their email address. And we can include you on our contact list, literally. And so just send those folks to us. That way, and then you can skip a step. But if you send those contacts to us, we can include it, and then we'll make sure it gets to them. So again, we will send out, again, as we mentioned before, we've used the enterprise data. It's kind of across the map in terms of how folks are assigned within that. But again, to the degree you can just send us that, or have your folks either ask them to send us an email or just send us an email with, hey, include these 5 folks. Then we can include them, and then they'll be on the regular communication that we push out in terms of like the newsletter, the ST connection, and all of that. And so again, we're committed to it. The degree you can help us with that too would be really appreciated.
Can I tell you something in the real world? In the real world, what's gonna happen? Because where we don't have the authority to go to the assistant superintendent for curriculum, or the curriculum division managers and say, we need this done. You know what it was like trying to get courses mapped and how hard it was. What's gonna happen is we're gonna continue doing all this data submission for SDCC because that's what we're told to do. And at the end of the year, some reports are gonna be spewed out that the assistant superintendents and the superintendents are gonna look at, and then they're gonna come back down to saying, what did you do? And that's the reality, because right now, their meetings are not, our meetings that we need to have with them for SBCC are not important. Every time I try to schedule one, most of them cannot show up. I can't get it to happen.
So that's,
I have no authority.
And so the degree that we can assist with that.
Do you meet with the assistants, the curriculum people? I mean, do you have meetings from ADE that our staff are going to?
I know that we have varying focus groups that come together, or advisory groups on a regular basis. For example, superintendents. But in terms of curriculum folks together in a regular way, they come together in different places. And we've tried to capture them to the degree we can at varying conferences, for example, like the Title I Mega Conference, or the Title I, folks like that have the curriculum folks together. But again, to the degree that if you send us their contact information and say, can you please include this person and here's their role, curriculum person, we can target those communications to them, and we know that it's correct.
I guess our level is hard because you're in the Arizona Department of Education, and our superintendent and assistant superintendents run our school districts, and why is there not more communication that way?
Oh, indeed, and we do send information directly to superintendents. Like I said, oftentimes sometimes it's not forwarded to the right folks, or it's not open.
So at the Title I,
We see those metrics.
that the STC is actually presented?
We've done that before. We've had presence at conferences. And myself, like I've presented with folks.
Now that this is a requirement and this is brought up every year?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I just went over to Lisa, who is like the communications extraordinaire, and she knows all the groups and whatnot that we, ADE presents to and has good relationships. And I just went over and asked her, who's this group that we're talking about? And so her and I will work together to find out, A, who's the group, B, if there's not one, that perhaps we can drive the change and make it happen, because there's a lot going on. They're going to have to understand A-list, right? A-list is this huge, big, huge thing that, Mr. Hoopenthal talked about, Ed talked about, Rose talked about, I'm going to talk about. It is the reality. And so we need, you're right. I love that you brought this up.
Peter, another reality that happens typically at the schools is the administrator or the superintendent might hear.
Can't do. Okay.
The
Thank you.
superintendent or administrator might get the letter you send, and they end up just saying, here, honey, you do this.
Yes, thank you.
That's what's happening in our schools right now. Or delete.
Absolutely understand. And that's where I said, to the degree we can be in partnership with this, that it's a top-down and a bottom-up. Because I tell you, this was a major lesson learned for us, because we started with this effort, it seems like forever ago, but with a very top-down approach. That was the approach that we took.
Honest to goodness,
We went directly to superintendents, we went directly to county superintendents, we went directly that route.
Never would have known that.
We did. We honestly did.
Yeah, and so, but what ended up really helping is that when we kind of did this and came down and were engaging with you all, and folks were very welcoming to come in, to ASCUS or other computer user groups, or directly to vendor user conferences. And then we started to have that conversation, and then that combination of the top-down and bottom-up is what made a difference, I think, here in that midpoint. So the degree that we can continue to work together to that will help to shift it. But you're absolutely right. It is a culture shift, and there are some misperceptions. That this is ADE's trying to control what's happening. So we were very careful to try to develop a process that respected local control, so that folks were just providing us a snapshot of what they're doing.
Thank you. I did get cooperation from my small school as far as the curriculum stuff. What I didn't get, because the superintendent, the business manager, et cetera, don't know, because like you said, they just pass it on, is basically, here's a task, do it. However you need to do it, just get it done. They have no idea the hours and hours and hours of time that it took, or still takes. So it's way bigger than they realize.
That's a really great, yes, it is, absolutely, and I completely understand that. But what I'm hearing, though, is that message, in terms of time, effort, the fact that you reach out and you need the support of folks beyond just you, but you need to have a broad-based support in order to get this done, that message isn't penetrating to this level. They're not quite understanding that. And I'm seeing a lot of heads sort of nodding that maybe your assistant soups, your superintendents, your business manager folks, they don't necessarily understand that task, just get it done, what that entails. And I think that is worth without a doubt, a very specific communication out. And maybe we can work together with, I know that Lori's has some folks and ASCUS, maybe we can work together to kind of craft a message to basically let folks know. And I think we have a lot to celebrate. Like Lori said, the fact that we had 99% of the state do something that they've never done before and do it 3 times is pretty amazing. And I think to the degree that we are really celebrating that and communicating the amount of effort that it takes to do that, hopefully that'll then help, again, to spur those communications on. Because like I said, and I think what will also help, and we'll really need your input with this too, is when we're talking about what this means, it's more than just submitting data. Like what Ed was saying. This is the foundational piece. It's the cornerstone of all the stuff that we're trying to do within the department to provide tools to help improve student learning, to help teacher learning and growth, to help when kids are, the fact that pretty soon through the dashboards, you're gonna have information pretty much immediately when a kid just moves into your district mid-year. That's huge. Even, just to that degree, to be able to have that pop up, yep, here's that kid, and they may have been in 5 or 6 different districts or schools within your district even. But to be able to have that information like that's powerful. So the degree that we can really focus in on those benefits like that too, to show, so that folks see that connected picture, I think that'll help. And the fact that your critical role in that is absolutely essential, and that you need support. And so if we can help with that, we definitely want to do that. And so to the degree you can help us with that too, to provide some of those suggestions of, if you would phrase it like this, that would help. So if you can share that with us, we're glad to do it.
This is just one of those examples, I think, of some communication that might need to go out, because I'm in my 2nd year of telling the district that they need to look at how they're delivering credit recovery. And I heard her say it again today. But when I say it to the curriculum people and the people at the high school, they say a whole bunch of stuff that boils down to we will when we have to.
Maybe
That's
if
the
we
end.
NC2A in front of your message, they'll hear you.
What?
They're saying maybe if we put NC2A at the beginning of the message, that they'll listen to us. But you're absolutely right. As we go forward with this process, like I said, we've learned a heck of a lot, and including learning what we didn't know, kind of like you did. We didn't know when we got started. But how we got to where we ended up in terms of the success was because of the ongoing communication and feedback from you. So to the degree that you're sending us that also helps to the degree that we can set up, because what I'm definitely hearing is that we can do better, and we should do better in terms of the communication and the feedback loop. So we'll work to do that with you. Again, I think it's going to be a partnership, because I think you all get it. Our team is definitely passionate about it, and they get it, but we got to do the top down and bottom up to get the middle folks engaged.
Sorry, I have a question, and it's not about communication, it's back to the whole LS grade thing. So is that all right with everybody? Okay. My concern is that last year we sent up final grades, and now you're asking us to send up a progress type grade. in the same spot that we used to set up a final grade. And so now I'm really concerned that the comparison and the analysis that's going to be done with these grades, is it going to be done correctly, or apples and oranges?
Yep.
That's exactly what
Yeah,
Melissa
you know what, I
was
can address that, because you're absolutely right. When it comes to grades, it's not apples to oranges, it's fruit salad. All right? There's no comparability, I would argue, or assert, among grades. So when it comes to analysis on that, throw it out the window. And that's the next, you're absolutely correct. Then the next, and that is the very logical question to say that, then why the heck are you asking for it at all?
Yep.
All right, well, I'll tell you that I had that same conversation with the U.S. Department of Education at the front end of this stuff. And because when we had this, when we were talking about grades and collecting grades, like, so you can't use this for any type of cross-system analysis. You can't use it for a state analysis. You can't do it even within a district analysis to a degree. I mean, it's because there's so much variability between standards-based and numeric and alpha and I like this kid or don't like this kid or whatever. I mean, there's so many different ways to collect it. And what they came back to me with is it's about operationalizing that concept of transcripts, of things moving within the system. And what they described it to me was that the reason why you would want to know that, even if it's, very little progress or no progress or A or wherever they're at, is for that situation that we all face, or we've all faced before, that the kid that happens to come through your door 3 months into the system or 8 months in. And the kids, it's the mobility issue where kids are moving around. And so the degree that as a receiving district or a receiving school, to know that that kid, wherever they were at in Arizona, was in a class for X number of period and they had this type of progress, that's how, even if it's a completely different grading scheme than what you use, that's still actionable information you can use to help to inform planning for instruction
So
for that kid.
But are they gonna know it's not a final grade? Because that's
Yes.
different. I mean,
Yes.
coming from the classroom, that's different.
Correct, and that's why it's in progress. And again, the reason why the primary reason why we want to collect that is again, for that mobility issue. It's analogous to the concept that we've all dealt with before, but in the paper version of the CUME file. So when the kid leaves, you gather up all the paperwork and you put it in the envelope and you send it on its way. Well, as you know, sometimes that gets sent immediately, sometimes not at all. Sometimes you're having to recreate things, or you spend time reassessing kids to find out where they're at, or are they a benchmark or not a benchmark. So to the degree that you have some of that information, contextual information about that kid to help get the ball rolling quicker, that's why US Ed said you got to do it. Not for analysis, not for evaluation. You can't do it. It's not defensible to use it for that.
Well, I'm just thinking, when we send CUME files, it's final grades. I don't know that we've ever sent a CUME file that has, up to this point, at this time, this is what the grade is. We send a copy of the report card, which would contain a final grade, which would be
I think
a
sometimes
transcript.
it's different. I think different systems handle it differently. I guess to the extent that, again, because it's something that has really grown within our state, I know for sure that the amount of mobility and of even within a system or between systems or within the state is so extreme. And if we can, for a classroom teacher, to be able, so that they have that information quickly, and with the dashboards, as designed, it's a one-click, as envisioned, it's one click in your student information system, you have information on the kids enrolled in your class. Well, you would have then that kid's longitudinal history of these data, like that. That's powerful. And so the fact that you can begin that instructional planning like that that's why that piece is included.
Who wants to be on a focus group? I love it.
I was just going to say that I think that's exactly, your last two sentences is exactly the message that you need to be sending to these curriculum directors and these assistant superintendents. This is what you're going to see, because truly we started as a pilot district doing course walk, and all the superintendents sent their data people and their IT people, and not their instructional people, not the people who have anything to do with the courses that are
is exactly that. This is what this system is doing. It looks like just a lot
Yes.
of people sitting back there with their SACE data, but what it's going to do is your teachers are going to see the kids. Most of us have very mobile populations.
Yeah.
These 200,000 students you're talking about are in and out of our district too. So if they know what this is for, every time there's an SGC email, it's like, oh, that's you.
I'm smiling because you're right on target. It's something that we've talked about within the department, within the team. I know that it's something that Lisa's been working with in terms of we got to communicate the benefit. We got to communicate the why. We've been so engaged in getting it done, in the what, in sort of like these in different segments, in some different areas, and some things are being piloted and shared. But to show that connected vision of here's why we're doing it. It's education transformation. That's what we're really trying to help with.
That's always the next question. Okay, so we're sending you all this data. What are you gonna do? That's what they wanna know. Until they
We can't
know.
hear. We can't hear.
The question what I'm saying is that's been the basic question. We're giving you all this data. What are you, ADE, going to do with it? And until the curriculum supervisors and the assistant superintendents for curriculum know what you are going to do with it and what they're going to see, they're not going to put an emphasis on it.
Yep, I think fair point. Fair point. And that's why we got to focus in on the benefits and the tools, and that really the goal is severalfold. One, to reduce the massive duplication of data that's sent in, right? To make sure that the data are a specific meaning. And then 3, to give it back to you in a way that makes sense, to inform decision making at a classroom level, at a school level, at a system level, and so that we have some common tools to be able to help move the needle, for kids ultimately, and to help our teachers with their professional growth as well. And so ultimately, that's the big piece, and to provide, tee up the ball for schools then to be able to take that and then run with it